Today we're looking at this week's top ideas and tools of Titans from the Wise section. We're just going to keep running down the ideas and concepts, and as you can tell, I really like this book, Tools of Titans. In fact, it's my favorite of the year, as I keep saying. Number 1, you can tell the true character of a man by how his dog and his kids react to him. Shay Carl of Shaytards and co-founder of Maker Studios. Sam Harris, author and host of the podcast Waking Up with Sam Harris, wrote in his essay, Drugs and the Meaning of Life. If she, my daughter, does not try psychedelic like psilocybin or LSD at least once in her adult life, I will worry that she may have missed one of the most important rites of passage a human being can experience. A life without drugs is neither foreseeable nor, I think, desirable. Number 3, Sam also said something which has been sticking with me. He says, the sense of being a self, riding around in your head, this feeling that everyone calls I, is an illusion. It can be disconfirmed in a variety of ways. It's vulnerable to inquiry, and that inquiry can take many forms. This weekend I was at home, and I don't really get along with my brother. And in fact, we hadn't talked for almost a year, and I don't know if you have a difficult relative or someone who appears to be a difficult relative. And I was so nervous. But when I saw him, I thought about the quote, "Hi, bro. Hi, man. Is it just me, or are we dressed exactly the same?" And everything went great. But part of the reason everything went so great was because I thought of Sam Harris's quote. And suddenly I thought about how small we are. And in fact, like he says, that this feeling that everyone calls I is an illusion, I thought that in my head. And I separated myself. And I saw the situation playing out, disconnected from myself. And I saw us as patterns in the universe. These beautiful patterns, like flames flickering on the planet Earth. And that these interactions were not me. Literally not me. Because I would go on autopilot. And my subconscious would take over. And his subconscious would take over, and I could just literally kind of watch from afar, and I never had that experience before. Number 4, Tim has this quote on his coffee table on a piece of driftwood. It says, life shrinks or expands in proportion to one's courage. Anais Nin. Number 5, Malcolm's the author of The Tipping Point and Outliers, if you recall. His father, the mathematician, taught Malcolm how to ask questions upon questions. My father has zero intellectual insecurities. It has never crossed his mind to be concerned that the whole world thinks he's an idiot. He's not in that game, okay? So if he doesn't understand something, he just asks you, and he doesn't care if he sounds foolish. He'll ask the most obvious questions without any sort of concern about it. So he asks a lot of dumb, in the best sense of that word, questions. He'll say to someone,
I don't understand.
Explain that to me. He'll just keep asking questions until he gets it right. And I grew up listening to him do this in every conceivable setting. If my father had met Bernie Madoff, the Ponzi scheme guy, he never would have invested money with him because he would have said,
I don't understand how that works.
Number 6, sit, walk, don't wobble. Kevin Kelly, co-founder of Wired magazine, says you shouldn't multitask. When he's with a person, that's his total priority. He's given his total priority to this. Don't you hate those people who, as you're talking to them, get on their phone and actually start another conversation? If Kevin goes to a play or a movie, he's at that play or movie, and he's in 100% and he's going to listen. Number 7, the death countdown clock. Kevin says he actually has a countdown clock. He says, I actually took the actuarial tables for the estimated age of my death for someone born when I was born, and I worked back the number of days, and I have that showing on my computer. How many days? I tell you, nothing concentrates your time like knowing how many days you have left. Now, of course, I'm likely to live longer than that. I'm in good health, etc. But nonetheless, I have 6,000 something days, and it's not very many days to do all the things that I want to do. Kevin then says a friend told him he organizes his remaining days around 5-year increments because any idea that's significant, that's worth doing, will last about 5 years. Number 8, comedian Whitney Cummings says, in order for art to imitate life, you have to have a life. Start with I love you. Whitney also says that her trauma therapist said, every time you meet someone, just in your head say, I love you, before you have the conversation with them, and that conversation is going to get better. Thank you so much for joining me today, and feel free to share this video with any of your friends. This book is so interesting. Don't forget to hit that subscribe and thumbs up button if you haven't already. Meanwhile, have a fantastic week. I'll see you next Friday. It was great. As always,